It's holiday season. Holiday season. There you go. Oh, hey everyone. Happy Thanksgiving to all you gamers out there on this Thursday morning. Doing it quick. BRAP rant. And yeah, I know it's Thanksgiving, and I just wanted to do a quick rant. I've had a lot on my mind more recently, to be honest with you. You know, um, and the reason, let's see here, just gotta go change something real quick. Okay, all right. That's good. All right. So I wanted to do a rant because a couple things that I've seen on Twitter more recently. Obviously, net neutrality is huge. I mean, guys and gals, girls and boys, this is something we need to be paying close attention to. Net neutrality. It is something that can have a negative impact if it's overturned, not just on consumers. I think there's a little bit of a misconception out there that if net neutrality is overturned, it's only going to potentially hurt consumers. No, it's not. It's going to it is going to potentially affect companies alike. Companies like Netflix, companies like Hulu, HBO, those folks, the folks that provide content. So I know I've been doing a lot of lip service about net neutrality more recently. Excuse me, more recently. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee here. Give me a sec. Uh, the best part of waking up is coffee in your cup. And so you may be asking yourself, what is net neutrality, Enrique? Like, I don't know what that means. I'm clueless. I don't know. I should say clueless. I'm uninformed. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it looks like. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna tear in some turkey later on. I know that much. So, what is net neutrality? Net neutrality is a guiding principle of sorts. Something that was really kind of put into effect in 2015 by the FCC. Of course, we have a new president. Back then, it was former President Barack Obama and his administration. And so now Donald Trump, the and look, I'm not going to pull any punches. I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump. I don't agree with him and his behavior. I don't care for the guy. But that aside, that has nothing to do with my stance on net neutrality and whatever political affiliation you have should not impact. This isn't a partisan political type thing. This is something that can have an impact to everyone, not just consumers, but companies alike, tech companies, startups. It really could potentially hurt startups. And if you think about startups and the internet, it's always been an avenue, if you will, for startups, for new ideas. That's how we have companies like Google. That's how we have companies like Netflix. They were born out of ideas brought to you by the power of the internet. And essentially, the easiest way to sum up net neutrality is it preserves our rights to communicate freely online, protects free speech, means that ISP providers should provide us with open networks. ISP providers should not block or discriminate against any applications or content that ride over those networks. And if it doesn't make sense to you, think of it like this. Think of your telephone company. Imagine if your telephone company decided who you could call and what you could say on that call. This is, in some ways, essentially what overturning net neutrality would lead to. Now, I've had some people say to me, "Oh, that's just fear mongering." There's a lot of fear mongering going on. Nothing's going to happen. Chris Cobra, what's going on, man? Happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend. Redemption, what's going on, man? Redemption. If you look, if you're a Trump supporter, that's fine. I'm not going to hold you to the fire for it. I wouldn't stop talking to you because of it. We need to be able to share each other's ideas without, uh, you know, I don't know, without losing friendships. I mean, politics isn't anything worth losing long friendships over. I'll say that much. I don't agree with the genital grabbing president. I don't agree with anyone who openly brags about sexually assaulting women, I should say. But that's a whole nother conversation. Now, back to net neutrality. So just that's just kind of an example, that I was giving you, also, so you all can have a good understanding or better understanding of what net neutrality is. So, um, now I've had people say, "Oh, well, the internet was fine before net neutrality in 2015. Companies didn't try to throttle ISP providers, didn't try to throttle content providers, websites, and they're not going to do it again." Now, Chairman Pai is the head of the SEC. I should mention that his background is interesting because Chairman Pai was a former attorney for Verizon, and we know Verizon is one of the largest internet service providers in the United States. He is the one that proposed this back in May, and the vote is happening December 14th. Now, folks, I'm telling you, it is not coincidence that a vote of such importance is taking place during the holidays. And let me tell you why that is. It's taking place because they know that the rest of us, like most Americans during that time period, starting today, we're in holiday mode. We're in holiday mode, folks. Today, we're going to stuff our faces with turkey. We're going to give thanks to friends and family. Some of us may go out after dinner and you know get to some of the retail stores early for some of those doorbusters. Some of us may go to bed early so we can get up at like 4 in the morning to get some of those Black Friday doorbusters. It officially kicks off today, the holidays, and it goes through pretty much January 1st. So it's no surprise that they're doing this or having this vote during the holidays. Why? Because we're focused on other things. We're focused on going out and buying our Christmas tree, putting it up. We're focused on going out and buying gifts. We're focused on Black Friday deals. We're focused on stuffing the turkey right now. We're focused on on what football game's going to be on tonight. That's what we're focused on. We're focused on getting drunk with our friends. So like a thief in the night, they can come in and they can do this vote. Arliss78, what's going on? Arliss78, the chat says 4K texture packs alone will make ISPs a shitload of money if net neutrality is removed. Yeah, that's a possibility. It's a possibility. There's a strong possibility. And, I was talking to Matt Piscatella, great guy. He's an MPD industry analyst for the video game industry for the market in the US. I don't think that's his official title, but it's like MPD video game analyst, US industry or something. I don't know, something to that effect. But anyhow, Matt's been in the industry for a long time, studies trends now with MPD, yada yada yada. And he's already saying that this is going to slow down the progression of content in terms of buying content from physical to digital. I mean, it's going to happen when you look at, especially with some of us who own the Xbox One X, like myself, and you start downloading those 4K texture packs that are, I don't know, what are they, like 40, 60 gigs? Something to that effect. I don't know. I think there's something like that big. So, I mean, Comcast already has data caps. We had Jay Fonzarelli on. Big shout out to Jay. We had him on Tuesday of this week, and I think I don't know, he had mentioned to us that he's already paying extra money because he had been going over his data caps. I think he's paying like an extra $50 a month or something of that effect. So if you think about like your cost of internet right now, like most of us probably have a triple play package with phone, TV, and internet, and they actually penalize you by not getting the phone, even if you don't use a phone. Because most of us, I mean, I don't use a landline; I use my cell phone. My wife uses her cell phone. We don't even have like a traditional phone in our house anymore. It's kind of shocking, isn't it? Um, But even the ISP providers won't give you a discount um, for unbundling a phone. They actually charge you more if you don't have the phone piece, which is ridiculous. As if you buy internet standalone, it's more money. So anyhow, um, so yeah, that's a real possibility where I could see it. Chris Cobra Elite says Comcast has been ran out over by my area by Google Fiber. The reps are pesky as hell at retail stores. Are you saying the Comcast reps are pesky as hell at retail stores? That's interesting. We don't have where I live. We don't have Google Fiber. Coffee's so good. We don't have Google Fiber. It's not here yet. I live outside our glorious nation's capital, and I here we have Fios, which is giving right now, Verizon Fios here in my area is they're up to gigabyte speeds now on the internet, and they're actually giving a pretty good deal, I think, with TV, phone, and internet gigabyte speeds. I think their mid tier package is $134.99 a month, and that includes gigabyte internet speeds, and that's actually pretty good. I mean, they do charge you $100. Um, there's $100 installation fee for the upgrade in terms of internet speed. They do, and actually use Cat 6 internet cables, um, um, or Cat 6 cables for the installation. So, um, but so this is something again. I mean, this is something that the government's looking at, the FCC is looking at, and look, go out there, call your local representative. Um, if you Google groups that are out that are for net neutrality, you can actually go to those websites and sign a petition or call. They can actually point you in the right direction to your local congressional representative or congressman. Call that individual. Let them know that you are for net neutrality. Now it's funny. Comcast is out there tweeting people, "Oh, we're for net neutrality. We're not gonna impose hot lanes." I got to call bullshit on you, Comcast, because you've done it before. And so you'll hear people say, "Okay, well," you'll hear people say things like, "Well, they haven't imposed it before, um, so why would that change? We haven't had any issues with the internet before, so why does net neutrality even have to be a thing? Let's leave it up to the free markets." Ha ha. So in 2005, AT&T, along with some other telecom and cable providers, tried to introduce tolls, or essentially hot lanes. That was struck down by the federal government. More recently, Netflix, and this is before the ruling of net neutrality in 2015, Netflix, and by the way, guys, I provided links in the description below If you guys want to go and read some of these articles that I'm citing as sources here, please do, because it's actually kind of fascinating or interesting. So if anyone tells you that these companies haven't imposed an internet tax or a toll fee to companies in the past, they don't know what they're talking about, because it's not true. And this is, and I always say this, people, if you're going to take a stance on something, make sure you research it, do your homework. You want to be as well educated, well informed as possible, especially as it relates to things that impact you as a consumer. Okay? We had this thing called the internet. You'd be amazed how much information you can find. so, um, so this has happened. They have imposed tolls or internet tax fee or fees to content providers. So anyone who says that, oh well, Comcast has never imposed any fees on content providers, or Verizon's never done that, so why do we need net neutrality? They've never done it. No, they have. That's why we need it. They do. So Netflix paid Comcast money so that Netflix subscribers could get better service. So that Netflix subscribers would have access to better speeds through Comcast. This is true. This happened in 2014. No financials of the deal were disclosed, but what essentially it was they entered this agreement with Comcast because Comcast was slowing speeds for Netflix down. So Netflix had to pay Comcast to ensure that Netflix subscribers were getting adequate bandwidth to use Netflix's services. And after the Comcast deal, Netflix CEO Reed Hastings complained about having to pay an arbitrary tax to Comcast in order to improve service for its Netflix customers. So this has already happened. And shortly after that, they entered the same agreement with Verizon because Verizon was doing the same thing to Netflix. Folks, it is time to wake up, seriously. And and look, many of you know that I'm very anti fanboy. I don't like fanboys. I don't like PlayStation fanboys. I don't like Xbox fanboys. I don't like Nintendo fanboys. I don't like PC fanboys. I don't care for um I don't care for YouTube channels that promote a fanboy agenda, because, and I've always said this, fanboyism by its nature is anti-consumer, and I'm very pro-consumer most of the times. It's a joke. Um, and I just, instead of, and I've said this a million times, instead of arguing over plastic boxes, instead of arguing over things that are very inconsequential to you as a gamer, turn all that energy that you're using and pay attention. Wake up. This is something that will impact you in a negative way. You just bought an Xbox One X. Guess what? You got to download those huge 4K texture packs. What do you think Verizon's going to do? What do you think Comcast is going to do when they see this usage? They're going to say, you know what? We're going to charge you based on consumption. I can already see the commercials. Comcast Xfinity for the gamer. You want high internet speeds to play Call of Duty? Well, here you go. We have the Dude Bro package, $99.99. Xfinity. I can see that. I can see them doing that. I'm telling you guys, it's time to wake up. Stop focusing on the console wars bullshit. Stop focusing on sales numbers or what copies of games sold what or how many consoles sold how many units. Stop going to don't go to Best Buy tomorrow and take pictures of pallets and be like, "Oh look, oh my God, Sony's outselling Xbox." Oh no, don't do that. Contact your local congressman. Tell them you are for net neutrality. I just gave you guys an example. I just gave you an example of Comcast and Verizon making Netflix pay or having Netflix pay them so that Netflix subscribers could get good service while they're on Verizon's network or Comcast network. Airless says 4K texture pack premium service. Get it now. That's right. That's what's going to happen. We look all the hubbub over loot boxes or loot crates. That's what the internet could potentially turn into. And again, this isn't look, guys. I've had people on Twitter say, "Oh, Enrique, you're just fear mongering." No, I'm not fear mongering because there's been examples of this already. I just gave you one example with Netflix having to pay Comcast and Verizon. I just gave you an example. I just quoted Netflix CEO Reed Hastings, and I'll say this again. He complained about having to pay an arbitrary tax to Comcast in order to improve service for their customers, for Netflix customers. Think about that. And you don't think Comcast or Verizon is going to do that for other content providers? You're kidding yourself. And let me tell you why. Because Comcast owns NBC. Verizon bought AOL and its media content. Verizon owns Yahoo. You don't think in order to drive revenue, which these companies are all about, these companies are in the business to make money. They're publicly traded companies. No company is in business not to make money. I mean, let's just get that out of our mind here. No company is no company is in business to not make money. Okay? People are always like, "Oh, this company A cares about me." Oh, no, they don't. They care about your money. They care about your what's in your wallet. That's why. That's why I'm in very vocal about this issue with net neutrality because it's one that's going to potentially have a negative impact on consumers. It's one that's going to have a negative impact on content providers, and like I said, Verizon owns Yahoo. And Verizon is a profit driven company, like all companies are. And if you don't think for a minute that they're going to slow down Google so that when you go, when you're a FiOS subscriber and you access the internet through Verizon's networks, through FiOS, and you notice all of a sudden that Yahoo's working a lot faster than Google, don't be surprised. Although Google will probably end up having to pay some kind of arbitrary tax the way Netflix did if this thing is overturned. They're called fast lanes. People, listen, wake up. It is time. It is time to pay attention. Stop focusing on bullshit console war stuff. This is something that can really impact us. I mean, it's mind blowing to me that more people aren't paying attention to this. I'm going to give you another example too, real quick. After I take a sip of my coffee here. Oh shit! Give me a sec here, guys. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull up another article that I have. All right, so the example that I gave with Netflix is not the only example that we have. It's not. There's other examples out there, and I'm just going to share another one with you. Um, and I don't know if how many of you all remember this, but um, we all know Google Wallet, and this goes back to 2011. So 2011, Verizon had actually blocked Google Wallet. And Google Wallet is the app, the payment app that you can use on your phone to pay for goods, yada yada yada. Um, it was at the time it was Google's new high-profile wallet application. It was on smartphones, um, and at that time, Verizon, AT and T, and T-Mobile had actually teamed up with Discover and Barclays to form a mobile payment company called. And get this is, mind you, this is back in 2011, and you're gonna get a kick out of this. At the time, they were calling it ISIS. Kid you not. Um, I did cite this article as a source. Go to the description below. You'll see a link for it. This was something that was published on CNN Money, CNN Money back in 2011. So definitely read this article. But so Verizon blocks Google's wallet application, and at the time they were saying, "Oh, because security issues, we're blocking the Google's mobile app from our phones." Well, why do you think they did that? Because Google was in direct competition with their own Verizon's own mobile app payment system. I mean, so think about that, guys. Think about this. Verizon blocked Google's own mobile application and cited security issues, which was complete bullshit, in favor of its own mobile payment application. So much for the free market, folks. So much for the free market. This is the issue. This when you see things like this, you see examples of companies who have control of data or networks. This is why there needs to be the kind of oversight because of the examples I just gave you. And I don't know what else to say other than the proof is out there. We've seen this. We've seen companies um we've seen companies take advantage of content providers, of blocking consumers from making or having a choice. I'm telling you, and I'll say it again, guys, go out there, contact your local congressman, make a phone call. Our voices can be heard. You know, we do have a say in this country. Now, there are organizations out there. I didn't link any of them, but there are some organizations out there that are very vocal and active, and are actively looking to uphold net neutrality. You can certainly Google those organizations, and I would encourage you reach out to them. Reach out to your local congressman again. This is important, folks. Net neutrality is important. And again, I just gave some examples of what companies will do or have done in the past prior to 2015, which was the which is the 2000 prior to 2015 when net neutrality was ruled in favor for. So think about that. Now, enough about net neutrality. I wanted to talk about something else, and it's kind of an argument or debate. Morning coffee. It's a debate that I've seen more recently with regards to microtransactions, and then there's been a lot of fallout because of what happened with EA Star Wars Battlefront. It looks like I know in Hawaii, and is it the Netherlands that the Star Wars microtran or loot crate system was ruled as being a form of gambling. Give me a sec here, guys. I need to pull this back up. Ah, and I can't find the damn article now. So anyhow, so there was a ruling more recently by a European government. I'll just leave it at that. Was it Belgium? Ah, here we go. It was the Belgian government. And Hawaiian politicians call for they're calling for a Battlefront 2 loot box ban. They're saying that I'll say this. I'll quote the article here. Eurogamer. Last week, the Belgian Gaming Commission began an investigation into the practice of selling lumps of random in-game loot, sparked by the furor kicked up by Battlefront 2 prior to its launch. Now, the Belgian Commission has weighed in with its findings and deemed loot boxes as gambling. The mix of money and addiction is gambling. A spokesperson for the commission told Belgian news site VTM, "It will require time because we need to go to Europe with this. We will absolutely try to forbid it." So there you have it. So this has it sparked another debate amongst gamers of whether or not loot boxes, more specifically how EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2 loot system worked, is a form of gambling. And I've been kind of on the fence in this. I don't know. I don't want to say all forms of loot crates are a form of gambling. Like, I'll use Battlefront or Battlefield as an example. When I played Battlefield 4 a lot, um, Arla78 says net neutrality is more serious than this microtransaction uproar. That is correct. That is correct. Um, Now, when playing Battlefield 4, they did have microtransactions, and it was really just to speed up the progression with certain character classes, so you can unlock the upgrades with like scopes, different types of weapons, stuff like that, right? Weapon upgrades. Now you could still get those items, if you wanted to grind it out, and it wasn't like this like arduous grind where like you were like pulling your hair out, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is like sucking the effing life out of me. It wasn't like that. Star Wars, eh, it was a grind, and the whole Reddit thing with 4,000 hours to unlock everything, or $2,100 to unlock everything. I mean, that I think that really impacted, um, and I think really kind of drove that narrative of wait a minute, like this is a little over the top for a loot crate system, and the thing is I haven't come across many games where if you had the option to speed up your progression or unlock different character attributes quicker. I never got the sense that it was done in a way where if you wanted to grind it out, the game made it to the point where it was drawn out, and where it may actually influence your decision to just say, "What the hell? I'm tired of grinding out. I put in 80 hours. I'm just throwing a number out there. I put in 80 hours into Star Wars Battlefront, and I still really haven't unlocked what I want to unlock. F it, I'm going to go ahead and buy the loot crate to unlock these things because I'm just tired of grinding." And that's kind of the implementation of the loot crate system with Star Wars Battlefront too. There's got to be balance between, I think, the time you grind. Excuse me, don't mean to cough, guys. Sorry about that. Just finally getting over a cold. Um, there's got to be some kind of balance here. Like I said, with Battlefield 4, and I use this as an example. If I was grinding out with the character class, I never felt like um, I never felt like I was missing out on anything, or that the grind was too long. If there was instances where I did pick up or did buy a loot box to unlock um, the different character upgrades. It was usually I did so because I didn't want to take the time to grind out the rest of the characters. It was like, I was part of a clan and I just want to unlock different character classes so that I could hop in and fill in for because we had designated character classes in this clan. So if somebody was out, I may switch over to a different type of character class to kind of fill in. So yeah, that's what I would do it. So I mean, I think it's just and I don't know. I've kind of been back and forth with this idea of, is it gambling? And I guess in some ways it could potentially be gambling, and I could see the argument for why it could be labeled gambling. And I had to think about this because my perception of gambling's always been a casino environment. You sit at the blackjack table, you order yourself a nice martini, or a cold beer, whatever your beverage of choice is. You know, you put money down in hopes of winning something. There's a risk reward there, and same thing with playing the lottery. The lotto is a form of legalized gambling. Whether you want to agree with that, it is. You put money down to risk reward. You're trying to pay. You're paying for an outcome or the chance to be rewarded with some kind of favorable outcome. And same thing with like scratch off lottery tickets and whatnot. So, and I was thinking to myself, well, what is like, is it possible? Is it possible for the implementation of loot crates to take on something or to mirror gambling? Now, gambling in itself is the definition of gambling is playing games of chance for money or taking risky action in the hope of a desired result. And so when you apply that definition of gambling to loot crates, the way Star Wars 2 Battlefront implemented those loot crates, then yeah, I could see the argument being made for, hey, this is a form of gambling. And look, there's going to be people out there that have addictive personality traits that are impulsive buyers. And they are going to be impacted by this. I have an issue with paying money for something and having it random and having it generate a random outcome for you. So if I'm a stormtrooper and I want to get the I'm just throwing out an example, the +5 stormtrooper defense boots that upgrade my defense or allow me to take more damage. If I'm going to pay money for something like that, I want to pay money for it and get it. I don't want to pay money for a chance to get it. And I think that is the issue that I have with a loot crate system that does that. I don't want to see a situation where, as gamers, we're paying for the chance to win items that we can actually use. Because you know what? That is gambling. That is gambling. I think with Overwatch, the Luke. So Arliss78 says, why wasn't Overwatch on the hot seat over its loot crate system being classified as gambling, even though it's cosmetic? Probably because it's cosmetic. Because it's not. I don't. I'm looking at it like this from this perspective. Like how many people are how many people are going to get obsessed over something cosmetic like a new outfit, as opposed to, man, I really want to get this weapon because it's really going to improve my ability to be more competitive, or it's a pay to win situation. I think the fact that because it's cosmetic and not necessarily pay to win, that's why Overwatch's loot crate system was overlooked. To be honest with you, I mean, this was Star Wars Battlefront 2 was a pay to win situation. What I'm talking about though is this idea of random drawings from buying loot crates. I don't agree with that kind of system, and I think that system is one that, look, it doesn't do anything to benefit gamers outside of benefiting really the developer. And I don't ever want to see it get to that. But I will say this: there's this misconception out there by people that, and I had this conversation with somebody on Twitter who clearly didn't have any clue or idea. No, he didn't know what he was talking about. Look, I've talked to industry analysts about this, people in the gaming industry, about why loot crates exist. And here's the thing: loot crates, microtransactions, they exist. DLC. Look, this isn't new, folks. I mean, we started seeing downloadable content. Geez, I want to say maybe like towards the end of the OG days. There's back to I can't even talk. Back at the during the old days of the OG Xbox, if I'm not mistaken, that we started seeing downloadable content. And so people out there I've seen this go out there a lot, that this misconception of, well, it's the rising cost of AAA development that has led to developers implemented microtransactions. Look, rising development costs isn't anything new. It happens every console generation. So, but there's this misconception, and I know it's a misconception because I've talked to people in the gaming industry. It's demand. It's demand. We haven't gotten to this place because of increased pricing. We got to this point because developers through and I said this a long time ago on BRAP, that once internets became connected to the once game consoles became connected to the internet, it changed everything. It was through this. It's through the. It's a combination of connectivity and innovation that led to where we are. Not It had nothing to do with rising cost. Okay, and there's a demand for this. There's a market for this. The data shows that people buy these things. These developers, publishers, they track this stuff. There's a demand. That's why these things exist. Not because of rising development costs, because there is a demand, people, a demand. I'll say this again. There is a demand for this. It has nothing to do with rising development costs. That's not why. And and yeah, they to an extent they saw um developers saw the free to play model, and they saw, loot crates and microtransactions work on the mobile market for games on the mobile market, and saw that it was very lucrative. And really, developers, publishers saw this as just another way to add an additional revenue stream to an already existing revenue stream. That's it. It wasn't born out of, oh my God, rising development costs are so high that we need to charge microtransactions. That's not what went down. So I want to, and I share this with you guys because these are things that have been shared with me by analysts, by people in the industry. And so it's a demand thing. It's a demand thing. I mean, and look, and this is pretty, and it's still pretty new. It's still pretty much in its infancy. I mean, they're not, um, developers are still toying around with different models, and this, in this sense, EA was toying around with a model that just completely backfired. I would say that um, they probably will be maybe less aggressive in their implementation of loot crates, microtransactions in the future. You know, but again, these are things that are born out of demand, consumer demand. People are buying these things. Look at Take Two Interactive. 46% of their revenue streams are coming from microtransactions on two games: NBA 2K18 and Grand Theft Auto 5. And redemption. You say that Western devs, it's never enough for just $60. They are greedy. Look, these companies are in the business to make money. You can call it greed, you call it whatever you want, but they're in the business to make money. And as a consumer, if you don't like it, you don't buy it. And that's it. If you don't like it, you don't buy it. But it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere because there's people out there who buy these things. There's a market for it. That's why we have these things. There is a demand. It is not because of rising development costs. It is because a market exists, a viable market exists that wants microtransactions and buys them. Again, look at Take Two Interactive and their revenue streams. 46% come from GTA 5 and NBA 2K18. I mean, this is something that, I think that as we kind of navigate through loot boxes, loot crates, whatever, microtransactions, just something we're going to have to just be aware of. Be aware of how these companies are implementing these things because, obviously we don't want to be in a situation where it's taking advantage of people or um Chris Coberly says you can blame my little brother for GTA 5 online microtransactions. There you go. But look, I'm telling you, Ireless 78 says, "What about post content? What supports that?" So Eros, that's a great question. What supports that is revenue again. Is that people will pay for additional content. People will pay to have new. If you look at like The Witcher 3, you look at um, the two DLC downloadable content um, releases they had. I think they were like, were they 8 and 10 hours in duration? I think both. I don't remember, but they, so anyhow, so yeah, I mean, so post content is because there's a market for it, and that's it. Look, these things wouldn't exist if consumers didn't want them. And that's it. I mean, I think a lot of people we get stuck with, because I think because we're on Twitter or because we get caught up in this kind of echo chamber sometimes that we forget that there's other reasons why these things are happening, not necessarily the reasons we see on Twitter. And look, with regards to the whole thing about rising profits or decreasing profit margins and rising costs of development, I had someone say this to me. Oh well, microtransactions are here because of shrinking profit margins and rising development costs for developers. And I'm thinking to myself, well, no, that's not true. You can't. There's no universal trend here with that. Look, some publishers developers are better, some are worse at managing money. It really depends on how well their costs are managed and the revenues grow. It's like any other business. It's like a coffee shop, like a pizza parlor. It all depends. There is not one universal trend or rule to this, or I should say trend. Um, and when this person said this, I'm just like, this person just doesn't know what they're talking about, but that's neither here or there. So, um, great comment. By the way, guys, everyone in the live chat, thank you again. I love the conversation going on. Boats and hoes. As soon as I say I love the great conversation that's going on. Chris Cobra says boats and hoes, man. Okay, so Chris, thank you. Hearts of Stone was 10 hours, Blood and Wine was 20 hours. Great DLC. And that's the thing. There's a market for stuff like that. People will buy that. Look, 10 hours for DLC and 20 hours for DLC is fantastic. You can't beat that. You can't. You look at the Uncharted game that just came out. Lost Legacy was $40. You know, and that offered additional, I think 6 to 8 hours of gameplay. So there's stuff out there, content that developers are putting out that are that provide good value to gamers. But it's not going to be. It's this is a new thing that developers are doing with microtransactions. This is still fairly new, and there's going to be bumps in the road as they try to figure this out. But as consumers, I say, just be vigilant, keep your eyes out, and much like what happened with Star Wars Battlefront 2, if something seems a little off or a little egregious, then you speak out. Then you speak out. But again, really, guys, the point I wanted to drive home too was again that this misconception, and I know I sound like a broken record here, but this misconception that microtransactions are here because of rising costs. That's not true. It's because of the fact that there's demand for it, that consumers want this in video games. Because look, if they didn't want it, there would be no microtransactions. And I've heard the argument, oh well, if microtransactions go away, um, if microtransactions go away, then they're going to raise the price of video games. And to that, I say that's a silly argument because microtransactions are not going away. And and even if they did raise prices, they probably would implement microtransactions anyway. So See, I'm just reading. Arrow says redemption. That's what I mean. Whether it's DLC microtransactions, somehow future content has to be paid for one way or another. Battlefront 2 DLC will be free. How will I get paid for? Um, Arliss, I don't know how that's going to get paid for. I mean, if they sell 14 million copies, here's the thing: if in order for Battlefront to break even, they have to sell 5 million copies. That's the break even point for AAA games today. If they sell more than 5 million, everything's profit. So worst case, potentially, let's say they sell the last Battlefront sold 14 million copies. It was profitable, extremely profitable. If they sell 10 million, they're profitable. But some of that profitability would go towards paying for that DLC content or what you just mentioned, and and they'll just cut into some of their profitability, but they'll still be profitable. If that makes sense. Sony's really good at doing this. Sony's thing is they'll greenlight like say like 10 first party games, right? And let's say out of those 10, like 3 or 4 are profitable. They'll take the profitability from those 3 or 4 games and spread it over and spread it across the board and use it to greenlight future first party projects. And the way the dynamic of the industry is kind of shifting now, where companies P&Ls are really based on active user engagement or daily active user engagement. That's how what companies are basing their P&L off of now in the industry, are moving in that direction, I should say. So Chris Krebs says it's like going to the store and the sign says free whatever if you buy whatever, but it's not actually free. You still have to buy something. Yeah, you did. And that store is probably making money. It's probably kind of a value type thing, you know. I mean, you see these things like I worked in the industry where I work in the consulting industry, and we may give 3 consultings to a company for free, but we have 10 out there that we have a 200% markup on. Well, we're making up the 3 that we gave away on the 200% markups that we have in the other 5 or 6. So 10 hours for Horizon Zero Dawn DLC. Yeah, I got to pick that DLC up. I'm sleeping on that. I'm so backlogged though. Actually, I had I had Hitman the complete season collection. I just reinstalled that on my Xbox One X because I heard it looks really good on the Xbox One X. I heard they did a really good job. I was reading the Digital Foundry article um, on Hitman and how it performs on the Xbox One X. It has the performance mode in the 4K mode, which Gears of War 4 has. I'd like that. I like that developers are doing that. I hope more developers implement that with some of the upgrades or some of these Xbox One enhanced games. I really hope they do that because, like with Gears, you could either do 4K 30 or you could do 1080p 60. And with Hitman, it's 4K 30 or 1440p at 60. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. What's up, General Thad? Happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend, and to everyone in the live chat. A happy Thanksgiving. Hey, I just want to say thank you again, guys, for popping in this morning. I know many of you guys are like probably getting ready for Thanksgiving and whatnot, but really appreciate you guys hopping in the live chat, shooting the shit with me, talking about things that are pretty important to consumers. We got to remember that we're not just video gamers. We're also consumers. We're also consumers, so we can't forget that. We have to look out for each other in that regard. And everyone, I hope you have a fabulous and happy Thanksgiving. And since I have the next couple days off, I may be dropping some more videos. Maybe dropping some more videos this week. the next 4 days or so. So don't be surprised if you see an onslaught of content coming from me, which I typically don't do because we typically only I typically put out content like once a week with the live podcast that we do Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, remember we have a excuse me, Basement Ready Arcade is actually running a we're doing a PlayStation 4 giveaway for the holidays. Compliments of our good friend Chicken Spaghetti, great guy, great community member, and he is donating a PlayStation 4 console to Basement Ready Arcade, um, so that we can gift it to one of our lucky winners, one of our subscribers. Um, the contest started on Wednesday. No, I'm sorry. I misspoke there. Contest started Tuesday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, goes through December 18th. Shortly after immediately after December 18th, we will randomly draw one lucky winner who will win a PlayStation 4 console. Compliments of Chicken Spaghetti. Chicken will ship the console out to this lucky winner. And if you haven't entered the contest, there's a link below. We're doing this through Gleam, so definitely check that out. So, Arrow78 says gobble gobble. Yes, everyone, gobble gobble. Have a happy Thanksgiving. All the best to you guys, and hey, keep an eye out. I may do some other BRAP rants this week. I'm definitely gonna do a Black Friday podcast. I think tomorrow. If you guys haven't seen, I did something last year that's on the channel. That's pretty funny. So, anyhow, everyone have a happy Thanksgiving. Until next time, we are out. All right, everyone. See ya. Peace.